Welcome to the IDP Playbook. So we finally decided to kill the angry old man, and we brought in a less angry old man. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Twitter at DrewDotsonNFL. You guys all know Eric Coleman. He was a guest on the show on the last one. You can find him on Twitter at UtahEC. How you doing today, bud?
Doing well. Excited to be here. Got big shoes to fill this season for Tyler, but I'll try to pick it up, and I'm sure Tyler will yell at me if I struggle. So we'll do what we can here.
You know, as angry, as mean as we think he is, doesn't matter how terrible either of us do. He will tell us we did a great job, and he will take out the resulting hate on his workers and make them cry, because that's something he does sometimes.
That makes me happy. It makes me very happy.
Right. So we're just going to jump right into it. This is going to be we're going to try and keep these episodes shorter than a normal playbook, especially just because these are in season. There's not a ton to talk about. We're still going to hit up a prospect every week. We're going to hit up, who's going to be good grabs, maybe a couple guys that are going to be sneaky starters for the coming week. But mostly it's just going to be, hey, there's not a ton of IDP content out there, and we're just going to help keep you guys going along. We're just going to jump right into our prospect. We are covering edge guy Devontae Fields, redshirt senior out of Louisville, originally out of TCU. He's a big boy. He's 6'4", 240. And apparently EC found a birth date, because I did not. But he'll turn 23 in a month. I like him a lot. I got really thrown off because you look at his 2012 tape, and there's a big gap because he's a knucklehead and he got in all sorts of trouble. Didn't go to school, transferred to Louisville at the last minute last year. But his 2012 tape looks just amazing. He was a consensus All-American. And just even as a true freshman, you could tell he was just a natural for the position. The only things that really showed up were he had issues against the run, not as much as diagnosing it, but knowing how to pursue. And I came back, I jumped right into the 2015 FSU, because normally what I'll do is I'll, advance with each year, and I'll be like, okay, let's watch him against high-level competition. FSU 2015, pretty legit competition. And everything I saw that I liked in 2012 was not there in the FSU game. He looked mediocre at best. He looked like garbage. So I ended up doing some digging, because one thing I've learned is if you see two things that contrast highly, you want to find a reason for one of those things. Turns out, tore his labrum in week 4. He joined the team at the start of fall camp, so no conditioning, completely rusty in terms of mentally, physically. You watch him in the 2015 Texas A&M game at the end of the season, and it's night and day. It's like watching a 2012 player. Honestly, it's watching a better version of the 2012 player, because he's a more physically dominant than he was, 3 years prior. His reaction time is probably one of my favorite things about him. He moves quickly. I hate when I can't think of words. And, everything he does is an immediate reaction.
Yeah.
When he's pursuing, whether he's diagnosing the play, whether he's reacting to the snap, he's just moving. And it seems like second nature to him, which was one of those things that I saw was missing. And I'm glad to see that it's one of those things that he can kind of learn again. So it's something he's not going to lose as long as he keeps at it. He's still not as good against the run game as he is as a pass rusher, but he's better than he was. He's still about mid-range. They tried dropping him into the coverage a few times. I wasn't a fan. Apparently, I didn't get a chance to watch the 2016 game, but Eric's telling me, they did it a little less, which I like. Play a player, use him to his strengths. But overall, this one's, in terms of dynasty, it's going to completely depend on what kind of scheme he gets drafted into. If he's an outside linebacker, there's 3 leagues I'm in where I can actually draft him, 4 leagues. If he's a defensive end, he could probably end up as my DN2, maybe DN1, depending on, how everybody else plays out. But I like him. I like him a lot. And I said but a bunch of times. And maybe it's because I'm an ass man. I don't know, but maybe it's just because I'm nervous hanging out with a new guy, and I want to not come off as a stooge. But I feel like we already kind of knew I was, so
no, you
why not
got
just
it,
play
man.
along.
No, I totally agree. So this kid's old. You're right. He's 23. But if you want to talk breakout age, he blew up that first year at TCU in 2012. He had 34 solos. He had 18.5 tackle for a loss, 10 sacks, 4 passes defended. I mean, he was a beast. And then he got into a lot of trouble, threatened his girlfriend with a gun, beat her up, really, really, really terrible things. But maybe he has his head back on straight. People are redeemable, even if they do terrible, terrible things. But he looks like he picked up where he left off in 2015 with 45 solos, 22.5 tackle for a loss, 11 sacks, 3 passes defended. He did really well. And I get you. I'm with you. He is super inconsistent in coverage. But there were flashes. There were flashes of him being able to flip his hips. Not all the time, but every now and again, I saw little flashes. My concern is that he's a little bit of a one-trick pony for me. He's wicked off the edge. He bends the edge probably better than anyone. Myles Garrett might be the only one, in this draft class in that, edge bending territory that he's in. But I just didn't see a lot of pass rush moves. I didn't see, a swim move. I saw a little bit of a bull rush, but in general, just rip around that edge. That's what he did every time. I like his instincts. I think he has strong instincts. I think there's a 10% chance this kid plays inside linebacker. Probably what he is a poor man's Leonard Floyd. That's probably what he gets cast as. That's probably how he plays. And I think we saw good things from Leonard Floyd this week. But I think that's what we're looking at. But yeah, keep your eye out for how he gets drafted and how a team will use him. I mean, he could be huge in IDP if he ends up being an inside guy, if someone projects him as that, because he's pretty skinny at 240 and 6'4". I mean, he's got that Benardrick McKinney frame. That's kind of what made me, hey, could this guy be an inside linebacker? There's a chance. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the best way I'm going to judge if they think the character concerns are still an issue is going to be his draft position, because based on talent, he's going to be at worst a high day 2 pick. If he went day 1, I probably wouldn't be all that surprised.
Dude's going to light up the combine. Totally.
Yeah. It's if he gets a pass in terms of the draft, that's all I need to hear. Normally I'm pretty hesitant about drafting guys who are douchebags. I still rank Adrian Peterson criminally low because I refuse to have him on my teams. And that's just, it's not analysis. It's emotion going into, statistics, but whatever.
And we play this game for fun. If you don't want to roster a douchebag, you shouldn't.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, I hosted a podcast with a douchebag for, I don't know, a year and a half.
Man, come on.
Back. It's fun because he's not here to defend himself.
Well, we're going to hear about this.
Oh, yeah, that's the best part. But it'll already be after the fact.
All right, so when Tyler asked me, or when Drew asked me to do the show, there you go. I said, hey, what do we all want to cover? And I thought about one of my favorite Roto World segments, because this is during the season. And the way I think about IDP when I'm, going through the box score or putting on rewind and watching is what went according to plan, what happened that I expected, and what happened that I didn't expect. So I think we're going to rip through this right here and kind of talk about some things that went according to plan, and then we'll talk about some things that didn't go according to plan. And the thing I want to start with is the Denver linebacking core. It's what we expected. Brandon Marshall picked up as the top dog here. As Breeze said, last show, he is a top dyno asset. He had 6 solos, did what we expected. Todd Davis stepped in, did what we expected as well. Had 7 totals, 6 solos, a half sack. He graded out well at PFF. He didn't look super fast, but his instincts were there. So both guys, I expect to just keep blowing up the box score. So what we planned.
You want to talk about blowing up the box score. The craziest thing about Brandon Marshall is he went out fairly early in the second half with a concussion. So that 6 solos is a half a game.
Well, that's an interesting point, too. We got to see what that linebacking core looked like. I'm not big into linebacking handcuffs, but it was Todd Davis and Corey Nelson on the field. the whole time when Marshall was out. So if Davis or Marshall get hurt, make sure Nelson's on your short list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I was about to say there. I completely lost my train of thought. It's already late at night, so yeah.
Nice.
Justin March did things. He did a lot of things, which, I mean, they may have been going to according to your plan, but I didn't see it, And I'm probably still reacting late to Malik getting cut, but I mean, it's after Derek Johnson. It's pretty much kind of an open field. It's not going to be holy shit, Tom Bahali.
Yeah.
I'm doing terrible already. This is horrible.
Ramik Wilson. You said Malik. It's Ramik. It's a tricky name. I wouldn't worry about that.
I think I saw Malik on here earlier and I got thrown off. This is not starting off well.
Oh, you got it, man. You're good.
Okay, let's talk about a guy who I actually got to watch.
Yeah.
Because I did not watch Justin March. Malcolm Smith. Malcolm Smith did numerous things. He looked good against the Saints. Khalil Mack also looked really good against the Saints. Honestly, I was surprised that he didn't end up taking Breeze down at any point. I think Irvin was the only guy who got to him.
I think that shows, how solid of an asset Mack is. Even when he doesn't get a sack, he has a really nice tackle floor, which is rare for a defensive end that with his sack prowess. He just exerts himself as really one of those top dino assets now if he can hold on to this position designation.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't end up holding on to position designation, I feel like it's pretty easy to agree he's already in the conversation for one of the best young defensive players in the league. Yeah. And it's not even all that much of a competition. On the other side of the ball on that game, Kenny Vaccaro looked like a man on fire. He looked like he did as a rookie. He's all over the field, playing kind of all over the place. And, he was playing in coverage. He was playing the run. Showed up ton in the box score.
I think it's going to keep happening, especially with this linebacking core that's just an absolute wreck that we're gonna talk about in a little bit, with some things that didn't go according to plan and some guys that we need to talk about whether they're the real deal or not.
Yeah.
Sean Williams, the coming out party is real. Everyone hyped him up as the new Cincinnati strong safety. It happened. 9 total tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. He did what we expected. The New Jersey, it basically is New Jersey, but the Jets, Leonard Williams kind of blew it up as we expected. So really getting after it with 2.5 sacks. If you're not on the Leonard Williams bandwagon, you're way too late now. And by the way, Wilkerson is still good. So that line's nasty. It's going to do damage this whole year. And the guy I really want to talk about is Eric Kendricks. PFF didn't really grade him very high, but he had a big day with 5 solos, had that big pick with that TD. And really, I just want to talk about how Kendricks is playing and how he looks compared to how he looked in college. The dude's a lot bulkier. He's put on bulk. He looks like a middle linebacker now. I mean, he used to look like a little runaround Will. He looks like a Mike now. I mean, this kid can hit. Now he can still get around. So I love Kendricks as a top dino asset, kind of what we expected.
Yeah, I like that because he always played like he always had the instincts and the movement for it, but he always seemed like if he was going against Tolbert, he's just going to get trucked.
Yeah.
Now he's got a better chance of taking somebody like that down. And on the Williams Wilkerson thing, just remember Sheldon Richardson is coming back this week.
He is.
So I'm not saying this is going to make any of them irrelevant, but it's going to make all of them split it up a little bit more. And that is got to be in the top, 3 for defensive lines in the league with the Rams and the Vikings.
Oh, yeah. It may be the top. I mean, with those 3 guys on the line, Aaron Donald's incredible, but the rest of the line doesn't compare to those 3. And I think we're going to see them get Sheldon and Richardson get work with, I think they're going to get all 3 on the field. They'll figure out how to do it.
I think so. And I'm also an admitted Robert Quinn fanboy, so that may give the Rams a bump in my head.
Well, and pass rushing is a position where it's nice to get a little breather. You can get a little breather, come back in, put in some work. So just because you don't get all 60 snaps doesn't that's not a death nail.
Yeah, I feel like it's fairly common that pass rushers are not seeing 100% of snaps, even 90% of snaps. It's probably top elite percent of it get it, but most of them are tagging out. We talked about Eric Kendricks already. I brought up the Vikings linebacker, or not linebacker, defensive line. Linval Joseph and Danielle Hunter both had big days. Danielle Hunter, Tyler, I'll give all the credit to Tyler. Like, I like Danielle Hunter a ton out of college, but Tyler took the love to a next level. He's been hyping this guy all off season, and if you watch that game, if you watch the highlight reel, you can see why. He's a freak. He reminds me of early career Ziggy Ansah, where he'd flash and then he'd kind of go back into obscurity. I think Donnell's going to break out earlier than Ziggy did.
Yeah,
and
that line's a beast.
Linval Joseph just does what Linval Joseph does. I mean, I feel like he's been a kind of a steady Eddie for a while now.
Oh, yeah, and I think people were sleeping on this year in drafts. I saw him going late, and I think probably because people saw, like, oh, he's 29. I need to take him later. Defensive tackles hang around for a little bit. I mean, he's a safe guy. I mean, sure, if you're completely rebuilding, sell him. But there aren't a lot of better tackles than him.
I think the fact that he went low could be more attributed to the fact that he's a defensive tackle and not a defensive end. I think people ignore the position a lot more than they should because it has this weird stigma attached to it if you're not Aaron Donald. Even Aaron Donald, I can easily see him in the conversation for top 3 defensive linemen, but unless you're in a league with some smart guys, he's not going there.
Well, so I'll throw some shade at some of our IDP friends here, I guess, but you're not playing IDP unless you're playing defensive tackle premium or you must start defensive tackle. I'm sorry. This whole start 1 or 2 defensive line guys or don't have defensive tackle premium. Sorry, you're just pussyfooting around. I think one of Breeze's first article when we moved over to DLF, it was like, hey, make IDP matter. And I believe it. So I want to talk about defensive tackles. They matter. They're fun to talk about. They don't blow up the box score as much as other guys, but come on.
But honestly, I mean, the good ones are as much fun to watch as almost any player on the defense.
Oh, yeah. No, when I watch college film, like, defensive tackles are one of my favorite guys to watch besides linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I get a chubby every time I watch Aaron Donald.
All right, so I got to follow my sword here. Our boy Quan Alexander blew it up. 17 total, 15 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 QB hits, and he was efficient, really efficient. He didn't miss any tackles. I don't know who this guy was. We knew he had the athletic talent, but the skill wasn't completely there. Is this an anomaly, or did he figure it out? Drew, tell me.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, again, the game plan in this one kind of played to his favor. Both running backs for Atlanta rushed a decent chunk, and both came up with less than 3 yards of carry. So that means they were running a lot, not getting first downs. So they're just trying, and it's getting to the point where it's easy to diagnose. So he's just reading these kind of simple plays.
All right, so let me ask you, would you sell high right now? If I offered you Eric Kendricks right now for Quan Alexander, would you do that?
No, but I was probably lower than a lot of people on Kendricks, but I would absolutely sell Quan right now if I had the opportunity.
What would you be shooting for though? I mean, you're not going to get Bowman, so
no. I'd probably take him for anybody in my top 15.
Okay, so Brandon Marshall,
absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Okay.
Trying to think of some other guys that are fringe that not everybody's got, but it seems like everybody's kind of just in this weird limbo right now. They're either top 10 like locked down, or guys that I was high on I want to see a little bit more on.
Yeah. What about Shazier?
I'd do it for Shazier. I'd do it for Jordan Hicks. But I might also still be underreacting. I've been guilty of it in the past. I just think he's not going to see as many opportunities to get tackles. I think, well, obviously 15 tackles with any player is unrealistic to repeat. Even Kuechly is not going to see, double-digit tackles every week.
Yeah.
And Quan Alexander is no Luke Kuechly.
All right, Bobby Wagner.
Oh, in a heartbeat, but I love Bobby Wagner.
Jamie Collins?
Yeah.
Deion Buchanan.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, that says, if you can get a top 10 Dino LB, maybe you should consider it for our boy Quan right now.
Yeah. Going back to the other side of the ball on that one, Deion Jones and Devondre Campbell was that combined for 5 solo. Deion had 5. Devondre had 4 solos.
Yeah, and they both had tackle for losses, yeah.
And there was no other inside backer that got even close to their snap count. They were just in there the whole game.
Yeah, they dominated.
I'm not going to say it went according to plan because I thought we might wait a little while to see Deion Jones because he's one of those guys that was extremely raw. The athletic talent was there.
Yeah.
But I figured they'd hold him back and wait for him to get the game. But you also kind of can't afford to because who do they have behind them?
Right.
Orlo.
Yeah, I talked to my boy Brandon Jones at Saturday to Sunday, and he's in a big Atlanta guy, and he said they played well. They missed some tackles. PFF, our friends at PFF, graded them out poorly. But, this is the first game both of them had, and they were both raw talents. Come on. I think we saw enough flashes that these guys are going to be good. Are they going to be top 10 Dino assets? Probably not. But are top 25? Maybe, yeah. And, this defensive line, that Atlanta defensive line is a wreck. The only guy who played even reasonably was Grady Jarrett. So I expect these guys to be able to just keep getting tackles. They should have a nice floor. These are plug and play, type guys. So if you have them, stick with them, ride them. If there's a huge believer and you're going to get a ransom, I'd say sell them, but you're not going to get more than they're worth right now.
No, the only thing that has even the smallest potential to eat into their tackle opportunities is Keanu Neal coming back from his injury. And Keanu Neal's going to come back and just be a monster. If you can buy low right now because he didn't put up scores in the box, didn't put up stats in the box score, and you're in leagues with people like that don't understand that, go snag him up if you can. But I'm pretty sure most of y'all listening to us aren't bothering with leagues like that.
Yeah, we should get hustling here so we can get to the things that didn't go well. But I'm gonna hit a few. We got a big list here. But Drew, pick out what you want. But the Chicago linebacking core, that was what we expected as well. That's worth mentioning. Freeman blew it up with 9 solos, 17 total. Danny Trevathan did what we expected, 7 solos, 1 sack. I think we're going to expect that type of production this season. Once again, that line is not great, so I expect those guys to eat up a whole bunch of tackles.
I absolutely agree. And Danny Trevathan's another one I would take straight up for Quan Alexander. And that's probably because Tyler got me all infected with his fanhood and told me how good he was 100 times, so now I just think it. One I wanted to touch on real quick was the Cleveland linebacking core. Mario Davis and Christian Kirksey both had great days.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, Kirksey just kept flashing to me. He looked really good.
When did he decide to utilize his talent?
Apparently when he got to the Browns, he's like, I'm better than all these guys. I'm going to show that off.
Yeah, he played well. There's a nice floor there. And so I got to give you guys props. You guys been pumping up Morgan Burnett more than anybody. He blew it up in the box score, 9 total, 8 solos, 1 sack, and it's going to keep happening. From what I saw, he was actually the dime linebacker. He got all the snaps. They actually had 2 other safeties in. I need to go back and watch the film. I don't know if they were fully a big nickel there or a big dime technically, or he was the dime linebacker, but they had 2 other safeties on the field. So I need to take a look at that. And Clinton Dix still did well. He had 5 solos and 1 pass defended, but I think this goes to show the difference between those 2 players when they're both on the field. Doesn't have the same ceiling that Morgan Burnett does when Morgan Burnett's on the floor. Haha's a great player. If you play in a deep league, you can still keep playing him, but that ceiling is not there.
Yeah, for me, Haha is, as long as Burnett is in there, if he doesn't see a turnover, he's a safety, a DB2 to me. Yeah. And it's pretty capped. Somebody that stuck out to me a lot is Tahir Whitehead, which was a guy Tyler and I both brought up a couple of times. He ended up having a really nice day. Just kind of nothing super flashy, but kind of everything you want to see. He's going to be consistent LB2 for you.
I don't understand the hate on Whitehead or why people weren't on him more. I was on Saturday to Sunday with Matt Caraccio, and I was coaching him through his first IDP draft. And we were late. It was a redraft league, and I said, "Go get Whitehead, man. We still need to shore up that linebacking core because we went defensive end, early." And all these IDP experts made fun of his pick, and I said, "What are you thinking? This guy's gonna eat. He's a pretty good linebacker. Is he elite? No, but the opportunity is through the roof."
And he's shown to do the exact same thing before with the exact same linebacker core. Yeah. He had an ACL tear, and I guess he just fell off everybody else's radar. As long as he came back from that injury healthy, he was going to go back to doing the same thing he did before, which was be a steady IDP producer. He's not going to have the ceiling that Levy's going to have, but his floor is probably higher, to be honest.
So another linebacker to talk about is our Jonathan Casillas. So his hype train kind of started a few weeks before the season started. He kind of solidified that job as the green dot. We didn't know whether it was going to be Keenan or JT Thomas or BJ Goodson. We had no idea who it was going to be, but it was Casillas, and he blew it up with 11 total and 7 solos. Keenan Robinson even only got like half the snaps. BJ Goodson didn't play. What's going on here?
No idea. I got nothing.
Yeah, Casillas is probably startable this year, but I wouldn't look long term.
No, and I'm pouring one out for Keenan Robinson. If I'm holding him, it's only because there's literally no one better on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
Well, the thing to hold on there is, once again, I'm going to go back to our boy Unga. We know whoever's in the middle in New York, it's irrelevant how good you are. You're going to get tackles. So we just kind of got to watch for who sits in that spot. I'm not convinced Casillas is that good, but maybe he's just the best of the bunch.
Yeah, honestly, the most important player in terms of tackles back there is going to be Landon Collins for me. Even with the weird game plan that he saw against Dallas, he still came away with 6 solos. I think that's going to be pretty close to his floor. I think we're going to see better weeks from Landon Collins, and it's going to be pretty consistent.
Yeah, I totally agree. So with your approval, let's move on to the things that happened that we didn't expect. And I'm going to go to the first one. Our boy Manti Te'o, he's not dead, I guess. 8 solos, 2 tackle for losses, graded out as the second worst linebacker at PFF. I expect more from Perryman, but this guy just ate up the snaps.
I can't say that this didn't go according to plan for me because I started Te'o in some spots because I've been a Te'o guy since Notre Dame, and I guess while everybody else is telling me, hey, you should probably let it go. But then I see people hyping up Josh Perry as biting at his heels, like not even the same thing. So I'm not sure how much I trust what any of y'all are saying. So I just, tuned out the noise and went ahead and went with my confirmation bias.
Yeah, well, hey, you were right. I think he's going to keep getting snaps this season until they run him out of town. So start with pleasure this week. The thing that scared me the most here is Jatavis Brown was actually taking nickel snaps over Denzel Perryman. That's a scary thing. I liked Perryman this season. I wasn't a huge fan of Perryman because he's robotic. He's just a good tackler. If you put somebody in front of him, he'll put you in the dirt. But he was getting nickel snaps last year. If he doesn't get them this year in lieu of Jatavis Brown, we got problems.
Yeah, my only thought on Manti Te'o, why he might have had such a good game, even though he graded out terribly, is Kansas City's not exactly the most athletic bunch of NFL players. So maybe he was able to take advantage of that because Te'o's not all that athletic himself. Did some work against Spencer Ware or, Jeremy Maclin. Jeremy Maclin's not bad in a full wide receiver, but he's not going to torch anybody. So, maybe he got to eat off of that a little bit, but this is probably an aberration. He's probably going to go back to being fairly irrelevant, but I'll still start him because I'll get like 5 tackles and I'll take that.
Yeah, no, he's startable. I hate it, but he is. Ben Heaney for Oakland. He was not the tackle orgy we expected. He only had 3 solos. He got all the snaps. He got what we expected. Drew, I think you had some thoughts on here why we saw that.
For Ben Heaney,
yeah, with your Saints.
I don't remember what I thought about that. I don't think I thought anything about that one. Um. Oh, never mind. Yes, I do. Um. It's late.
You said something really intelligent earlier. I would like you to say it again.
I know. I get one a day. The Saints had terrible clock management in that game. It's what cost us the game. We did not run the ball nearly enough, and that made it pretty much schemed Heaney out of the game. And it's why you saw fairly irrelevant players get fair number of tackles because we weren't running the ball. If you go look at even the rushing numbers in terms of attempts, it was pitifully low. If we had done any sort of clock management in the least, it wouldn't have mattered that we didn't even have timeouts. We still could have came away with that win, but Heaney was not used because there was no running backs to tackle.
Good. It's good. It's great analysis. Appreciate it, Drew. No, that's not sarcasm. That's legit. I really appreciate that.
I'm still laughing at the fact that that's like my one for the day.
All right, we'll move on. The enigma that is Stephon Anthony with 1 tackle. He only had 13 snaps. We know he's playing Sam now. We're going to have to chalk this up to we're not sure yet. We're recording this on Monday night. We don't have all the details of what happened here. We know he was having hamstring issues right up to this game. Maybe he got pulled for those. Maybe they were in nickel and he's not part of that a lot. We got to go back and watch the film on this one. But if you're a Stephon Anthony believer, this is scary. I was never a big backer, especially with him moving to Sam. But we got to get to the bottom of this one.
Yeah, it's for me. The moving to Sam was going to be a short-term thing. In my redraft leagues, I wouldn't have touched him. I don't do redraft IDP anymore.
No, that's silly.
It really. I was just going to hold him because Laurinaitis is a billion years old. It's not like he was going to lock down that middle linebacker position for the next 10 years or something. Yeah. Stephon Anthony will make his way back to the middle. The only thing I can think is if the injury didn't pull him out of the game entirely, it's because Robertson is better than Ellerbe in nickel. So they felt okay placing Robertson in his place.
Yeah, I mean, Robertson may be, and I got to watch more of Robertson. He may be an Arthur Moats kind of talent where he can play outside, he can play inside. He's just kind of an all-around backer that can substitute wherever you need. And that may be why he had a shload of snaps. And we'll cover him in is he legit or not section here in a minute. Moving on, our boy Vinny Curry didn't play. He was inactive. So, not what we expected in the box score, but kind of what we knew based on that. My guy, Jonathan Bullard, he had a 1 QB hit. He only had 17 snaps. I expect that to go up. If somebody's getting antsy with Bullard already, you should go buy him.
Yeah, I liked Bullard a lot in the pre-draft process, and then proceeded to not draft him at all anywhere because I don't know what happened. I just didn't. Ones I wanted to bring up were, you had your falling on the sword moment. Here's mine. I talked down Lee for a good chunk of after he was drafted to New York, and he's already pretty much splitting snaps with Aaron Henderson 50-50.
Yep.
So I'm probably wrong there. He might not show in the box score immediately, but that's probably going to be irrelevant. If he's getting the snaps, it'll happen eventually.
Henderson will be phased out by midseason, but Lee's not startable yet.
Yeah. Malik Jackson, here's where I saw Malik and I got all flustered and thrown off. Did nothing, graded out poorly at PFF.
Yeah.
I got to think it's one of those where it's another wait and see for me.
That whole line struggled in that game, so I expect this to rebound, but we'll see. CJ Mosley didn't do much in Baltimore. He did play 49 snaps, but he only got 1 solo and 2 totals. So, I think this goes to show Mosley doesn't have the ceiling people think either. I thought he had a better floor than this, but
I think his ceiling is as high as people have expected to be. I think his floor is entirely lower than people thought it was, I think is what I took from it. But it also says to me that Zachary Orr is the real deal. And I mean, I've had multiple people that I've listened that I trust, and there's only multiple people that I trust, and it seems like everybody was talking up Zach Orr this offseason, and luckily I grabbed him in a few spots, but he's still, everybody that watched him is like, yeah, he's kind of an animal. So Mosley's going to be splitting with him, but I think on any given week, both of them have super high ceilings.
Don't you talk about Camila Correa in vain. He will take Zach Worth's job. He will. Maybe.
Got me.
Maybe. We'll see.
One that stuck out to me was Byron Jones. Had one solo. He graded out well, but the problem is he's a free safety.
Yeah, I think this goes to show. I think people got way too high on Byron Jones. I actually sold Byron Jones in a couple leagues. The hype train was just too big. He's a crazy athlete, but he plays free safety, and he plays legit free safety. Church plays in the box. They play a lot of cover three press, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. Cover one, single high safety stuff, which moves him away from the ball, which gives him the less propensity to get tackles unless they're absolutely, just getting passed on all night, which is only going to happen a few games. So, yeah, I'm with you. One safety that's definitely worth talking about is TJ Green for Indianapolis. The hype train was there for him. He only had 3 total tackles and 1 solo. If you're wondering why that's so low, it was only 29 snaps, and he's out week to week with an MCL. So if someone doesn't pick up on that, TJ Green is still a really nice pickup, or a buy now if you can buy him really on the cheap. But if it's the waiver wire, go get TJ Green if people don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah, there's not a ton of people splitting up tackles there. Even if C.O. Moore is for real and his numbers are repeatable, it's him, DeQuell, and pretty much TJ Green, unless Henry Anderson turns into some kind of tackle monster, which, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's a good transition. Let's transition into people that showed up in the box score, and you're going to tell me whether they're legit or not, whether we're being fooled or the real deal. We got to get a name for this segment. But so we'll start with C.O. Moore. C.O. Moore, 13 total, 10 solos, 1 tackle for a loss, 47 snaps. I think we've loved C.O. Moore for so long. We've argued about this in so many drafts and leagues. Is this the time? I got excited when he got traded last year at like midnight one night. I wrote an article about him when he got traded to Indianapolis. I was so excited. Buy now. That's all my article said. Is it time?
I'm going to go with the 47 snaps as my proof and say it's time. Ooh. There's not real competition behind him. Even if it's just for this year, I'm going to party the hell out of it this year. I'm all about it. I think it's the C.O. Moore party time. All
right. I love it. Let's keep going. So Denoris Searcy, a guy that Breeze was really high on a year ago, guy who convinced me of. Tennessee's starting strong safety, 8 tackles, 8 solos, 2 tackle for a loss, 1 pass defended, played 42 snaps. Is he legit? Are we sleeping on him? I saw him go really late in drafts, Drew.
He's legit. Breeze wasn't the only one talking about. Tyler was kind of on the table for him too. And if both of them are saying the same thing, it's probably right.
Yep. I totally agree with you. Denoris Searcy is real. Make sure he's on your roster and doing some things. A guy that Breeze is not high on, we'll go with Jonathan Cyprien. Sip. Starting strong safety for Jacksonville Jaguars. 9 solos. Is he?
I think it's somewhere in between real and unreal, because eventually you're going to get Mac back. So Telvin and Mac are going to do plenty of work. But I think he's going to be a very startable strong safety, despite what Breeze wants to believe. And now I'm going to throw one at you. Right. Frank Clark, 3 totals, 1 solo, 1 sack.
Dude's legit. He is. He's a good player. I'm not sure he's going to destroy the box score, but kid can play, man. I've been sleeping on him. I just been sleeping on him. I didn't know whether he'd turn into anything. I need to give Seattle more respect there. So you can do worse at defensive end. That's for sure.
Yeah. One guy else that's on here is Ray Armstrong. He's in the middle of playing a game, but.
So, yeah, let's talk about that right now. So we're into the 3rd right now in the game. And looking at current snaps, it's actually I was ready to fall on my sword tonight on Ray Armstrong. last podcast, I called him the table scraps from Oakland, and Tyler told me how good a player he is. Well, he is starting, but he is splitting snaps with Gerald Hodges. And if we look at the snaps a little closer, it looks like Hodges is playing in base sets and Ray Ray's playing in nickel formations, which makes sense. Ray Ray used to be a safety. Ray Ray's good in coverage. I think the takeaway here is neither are legit as long as the other one's healthy. They're just going to eat into each other. You might have a random game where Ray Ray gets an interception or Hodges gets a couple extra solos than normal. But unfortunately, there's nothing here to see with either, which makes me sad for Hodges. But, thoughts?
Yeah, that you nailed it. Even if you look at the box score, they have almost identical stat lines, and both of them are completely unstartable.
All right, so I want to hit you up, Mr. Saints fan. Craig Robertson, New Orleans linebacker. We kind of talked for a minute. I compared him to Arthur Moats. Destroyed the box score. We're gonna see a lot of pickups this week of this guy. Is this worth it? Is he worth a roster spot? With Ellerbe was out, Stephon Anthony. Who knows what he was doing? Is this real?
I'd say he's worth the roster spot, but I don't think he's real to the extent that some of the people who are going to be picking him up think he's going to be real. He could easily lose his spot back to Ellerbe, but he may also be earning himself to start over Ellerbe. He looked good. He looked damn good. And we don't exactly have a ton of defensive depth right now. So anybody that can have a heartbeat and tackle a guy is going to get snaps. They're going to get a lot of snaps. I think he's gonna find his way towards being easily an LB3, possibly an LB2 this season, even with Laurinaitis healthy.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for sure, but expect him to be a hot pickup. So Gerald McCoy, this is a defensive tackle that we used to all love. He got a sack this week. Is he back? Our boys at PFF loved him this week.
I hope so. I've loved Gerald McCoy for years, and that's an in-division, rival, and he's so good. He's so much fun to watch. He's very good.
Yeah.
He was the Aaron Donald for me before there was an Aaron Donald. Chris Conte. I feel like we can both pretty confidently tack this one. He had 11 total tackles, 7 of them solos. That's a ruse.
Yeah.
We know what Chris Conte is, and he is not that.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. Keith Tandy actually got some snaps in lieu of him, and he played better. I don't know. He's like the Manti Te'o for me. Why is he still on the field? I don't know. He gets snaps. He gets in the box score. It's not what I like. We talked about Darren Lee already. He had 6 total, 3 solos. Don't be fooled. He's probably not startable yet, splitting snaps. He had 37 snaps. Aaron Henderson had 20. I expect that ratio for a few more weeks until we see Darren Lee actually take that job. Don't start him unless you're doing a serious productive struggle and he's your best linebacker. So moving on to linebackers, we'll talk about the Miami linebacker core. Oh, my head's spinning right now. So Kiko Alonso had 11 total, only 3 solos. He led with 82 freaking snaps. K.O. Missy had 10 total, 5 solos, and our boy Jelani Jenkins had 7 total, 1 solo. Is anybody startable here? Is this predictable, Drew?
I'm gonna say that, and a lot of guys that we associate with are not gonna forgive me for this, but I'm gonna say Kiko's the only real deal here, and that's simply because he's almost guaranteed to be the only one staying in nickel and in dime, because in coverage he's one of the better linebackers in the league, and it's not like there's real competition in Miami.
Yeah, Kiko actually tackled pretty well in this game, and with 82 snaps, he was constantly on the field. Missy might be a bye-week fill-in. He did play 68 snaps. It looks like Jelani Jenkins is more of a pass defender, which we'd kind of expect. He played 33 snaps. So, yeah, you're right. Alonso he's the Manti Te'o of linebackers. Well, he's also a linebacker. But anyway, I hate them both.
Yeah, they're the worst. Carl Nassib. I'm going to throw this one to myself because
yeah, do it.
He is a fucking sham. He is
yes.
He is probably the best player I've I've seen that is so good at showing up in the box score. But when you go and watch this game, it's like, when did that happen? When did he get those things? Oh, it's right there where no one else played that snap.
Yeah.
Every typical time he shows up in the box score nice, it's gimmies. I don't think I've ever seen him earn a real, anything more than a solo tackle. I don't think I've seen him earn anything
Oh, we disagree here. So you don't like Nassib
at all.
Wow. All right. So I'm going to disagree with you. I think he didn't get huge in the box score. 3 solos, 1 sack. But this kid, and he had 1 pass defended. He had 2 QB hits, 54 snaps. I think we're sleeping on this guy. I think he could be the real deal.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong, but
he's got the frame to do it. I don't know. I didn't love him coming out, but my boy Matt Caraccio liked him. I don't know. He might be worth a stab if he's sitting on waiver wires. I think he's a better ad than your boy Craig Robertson.
That might be fair, but Craig Robertson's also a very risky ad anyways. Ricardo Allen, Kamal Ishmael, Atlanta safeties, both 7 total tackles.
Yeah, Neal wasn't in, obviously. I think the short-term play is Allen. Ishmael's probably going to keep doing okay things, but I wouldn't overreact to either. So don't think you have an all-time starting safety out of this. Ishmael's probably he's the ha-ha of this, the poor man's ha-ha here. So John Simon at linebacker for Houston. He had 6 total, 5 solos. He's really a rush outside linebacker. Cush is out 6 weeks, but really Max Bulow is really filling that inside slot. So I think that's the real takeaway here. Don't be fooled by John Simon. He did have the 1 sack and the 2 QB hits. Whitney Marcellus also had a good game on the outside. Don't be fooled by these outside linebackers. You don't really want anything to do with them.
Yeah, I mean, the Houston IDP score was kind of all over the board. I mean, J.J. Watt barely showed up at all, and that's not going to be a weekly thing. The only one who really showed up that did something that I think is going to be repeatable is Clowney.
Clowney looked good. Clowney looked very good. So Clowney's legit. If people are sleeping on Clowney, it's time to play him and pay up on him.
Which is nice because, I mean, I remember how talented he was in college, waiting to see him plus Watt just tear some people up. And then he's just been a broke dick, kind of a little bitch since he came into the league. And I guess he finally is getting his shit together. He started to last year, but I think it's really starting to come through this year.
Yeah. So Oakland safeties, that's probably the last thing to talk about that blew up the box score. So Reggie Nelson, he was a great freaking safety from Cincinnati. He had 8 total, 7 solos. But the thing to be wary of here, he's a free safety. I'm not sure this is going to happen every week. Keith McGill filled in for Nate Allen, who played for Carl Joseph. The whole thing is confusing. I'm staying away from the Keith McGill, Nate Allen, Carl Joseph show until that figures out what's going on there. Nate Allen was supposed to play. I'm confused. He may have been hurt. Once again, we're recording this Monday night, so we don't have all the information sometimes.
Right. For me, Joseph's the only one I want on a roster, and if I can get him cheap right now because he's not starting and people think, that's somehow a knock on his talent, I'm going to scoop him up everywhere I can. In terms of Reggie Nelson, it goes right back to the game plan I had with Ben Heaney. The free safety got 7 solos. It's because we passed entirely too much that game. It means he had way too many opportunities in that 15-yard range to make a tackle because nobody ran the fucking ball. And maybe I'm a little salty and maybe I'm a little angry. But no, Reggie Nelson's also not going to be a repeat. And he's a good player. That's not even a knock on him, but he's a free safety. It's not repeatable.
Yeah. All right, so that closes out that segment of is he legit or not, or whatever the hell we're going to call it. I want to cover a couple corners. I know we hate all corners. I hate corners, but a couple you should pay attention to. With your Saints, PJ Williams, Delvin Breaux. Breaux. He's out for 6 weeks with a broken leg. PJ Williams is a beast. 41-inch vert. He's super explosive, 6 foot, 194 pounds. He's going to be starting. and he's actually what you look for. He's a really good tackler, not great in coverage, but he's gonna play snaps. So PJ Williams, I'm sure he's on your waiver wire. If you need a plug and play cornerback, go get that guy. Tampa plays a lot of zone too, which is also good for tackles and even passes defended. Good stuff there. Eli Apple showed what we expected. He's a really good tackler. He's probably a bigger name, but if he's available, he's a good start. And then Trey Waynes blew it up in the box score, 10 solos, 1 tackle for a loss. That's not predictable. That's not going to happen every week. But Xavier Rhodes is out week to week. And once again, he's what you expect. He's like PJ Williams, really good tackler, okay in coverage. So that's the type of guys that we really like, when you're streaming corners. So there's some cheap younger corners. I guess the last one, and this guy's been hyped up though, so he might, in savvy leagues, he's not out there. But James Bradbury, he's probably your rookie cornerback cheat code in the fact that he's not that good, but he's going to get snaps, so he's going to get tackles because he's going to get torched. So there's a couple corners. If you're looking to stream, those guys are worth it right now.
Yeah, I see another name we have on the list here is Trey Boston, who's free safety for Carolina. Had 4 solos, a sack, a tackle for loss, and a pass defended. This could have easily been a guy that's, easy for real based on the box score, because that's not terrible. That's a pretty good line for a free safety. I think it's out of any of the free safeties, it's closer to being repeatable than most.
Yeah, Trey's a really good player. I like him a lot. The problem is he's a real free safety. They play a true free safety. So,
yeah. The nice thing is, though, the cornerback play is not as good as we'd hoped. So, if they're getting past the linebackers, it's pretty much on Trey.
Yeah. I will cover one more. Steven Nelson in Kansas City. He played nickel corner. Phillips Gaines played, but he might be out playing him. There's been a lot of hype in him in camp. He played 69 snaps, and once again, he's the type of corner you like. Not great in coverage, but an awesome tackler. And if Kansas City's going to be a nickel a lot, he could be a streamable asset as well. Think about Quan Williams for Cleveland, who was startable last year. The same type of deal. You show up in a lot of teams where you have one extremely dominant corner, and then that number 2 gets picked on. And Marcus Peters is, for a young guy, is an extremely dominant corner. So Steven Nelson or Phillip Gaines, whoever ends up kind of locking down that cornerback 2 spot, is going to get targeted a lot. We should probably talk about Vernon Hargreaves. He didn't blow up the block score, so people may drop him because he's just a corner. But he is the same vein. He is not great in coverage, and they play a lot of zone, and he's a good tackler. So, keep your eye out for him if he hits your waiver wire, also streamable.
Yeah, whereas another rookie corner that you're going to want to avoid is Jalen Ramsey, because he's already looking like the kind of guy they're just not going to target.
Yeah.
Which, week 1 of being a cornerback, and they already got that much respect for you, that says a lot.
Yeah, he's going to have a few. They blitzed him a few times. He's going to have a couple blow-up games, but it's not even close to predictable.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is with so many of these guys. And, I mean, it's kind of the same way it was with like Revis and Sherman. And
yeah. Couple guys that I wanted to point out to not forget. Henry Anderson didn't play. Indianapolis defensive end, 5-tech. An absolute beast, was tearing it up before he tore his ACL. He was looking on path to start this week. We haven't heard a lot of news. I expect him to be coming back quickly. But if this lingers on, that's a guy that you may want to acquire. I would not hesitate. I mean, 5-techs don't get better than him. I mean, he could consistently put up Cameron Hayward kind of numbers, I expect, when he's really back on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I already talked about Henry Anderson earlier. I love Henry Anderson. He's good.
People may get antsy with him. Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle, guy I liked a lot coming out from Miami. He's finally starting to get some snaps. He had half a sack, four total tackles, 1 QB hit, and he's DT eligible. Once again, if you start multiple DTs or you have DT premium and you have 50+ roster spots, this guy's worth a roster spot. I think he could become a legit 3-tech someday. He has the power. He has the explosiveness. He just needs to figure it all out. I think this stat line shows us he's starting to get it. Speaking of defensive tackles, Jaron Reed, oh man, he only played 34 snaps, but gosh, he looked good. He only had 2 total and 2 passes defended, but I was wrong on him. I was not high on Reed, but damn, this kid can play. So those are 2 defensive tackles that are worth stashing.
Yeah, I remember watching Alabama's defensive line and having trouble deciding if I liked Jaron Reed or A'Shawn Robinson better. And
yeah.
I kind of came to the point where I was just like, I like them both a lot. I'm just going to rank you all the same.
Yeah, if people get antsy with A'Shawn, he's a nice target too. Tyron Walker played, so A'Shawn got almost no snaps. A'Shawn's the future there, so that's also a nice kind of hold if he ends up, or kind of a throw-in deal or something along those lines.
Yeah, Robinson to me is going to completely depend on how he schemes in the long term, because if they scheme him as a one tech, he's pretty much he's going to be useless for IDP. I don't care what he plays, he's going to be a good football player.
I mean, even the best zero techs in the league. I mean, my favorite zero tech being Brandon Williams. Those guys still are even in like crazy DT premium, like no player left behind. They're fringe startable. I mean, they're helpful, good bye week fill-ins, but probably not who you want to be rolling out every week if you're going for the win.
Yeah, so he essentially has to be 3 tech somewhere, or change. Oh, tripping over my words again. See a scheme change in Dallas to see him be a real IDP asset.
Yeah, the thing to take away, I just looked up Tyron Walker. He is signed on a 1-year deal. So I mean, this A'Shawn's the 3 tech next year. If he plays nothing this year, if it's like week 7 and he hasn't played, that is a great target.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have none of these really guys.
Yeah, the only guy I think worth talking about is Andrew Sendejo with Minnesota. Robert Blanton's not there anymore. I don't love that guy, but he played 60-plus snaps. He's probably going to keep playing those snaps. So if you need a safety, I've seen Sendejo not rostered in a lot of leagues, even the crazy deep leagues. So he's bye week fill-inable, or if you start multiple DBs and you need a third safety, that's worth looking at.
Yeah, I think I ended up starting him in one spot this week, but I think between him and Blanton, I got burned enough times to where I almost don't want to touch either of them.
Yeah, I know. I was too high on Blanton. I was excited about him, and then Sendejo kind of took him, and then they ate into each other. But this is Sendejo's job this year, so.
Yeah, and at least I can completely ignore Blanton in Buffalo, so that's nice.
Yeah, there you go. Forget about him there.
So I think that's about it for our organized stuff we thought about beforehand.
Hopefully this was as helpful. This was super kind of redrafty. We tried to put a dynasty slant on it. Kind of want to get some feedback. Unfortunately, when we're in the middle of the year, it's very redrafty because we're trying to figure out who to start, who to pick up on waivers, that type of deal.
Yeah, and part of this is just, it's adjusting to a new format. We're used to, I feel like almost all of our IDP shows have been close to an hour or an hour and a half. That's not going to be the case here. It's not going to be the case for most of the season. So if this is helpful, if there's different stuff you guys want to see from this show, please let us know. This is definitely something that is very imperfect that we want to refine going forward, because this is something we're hoping to put out every week for the entire season, because there's not a ton of good IDP content out there, and there's especially not a lot of good audio content. And I know some people, like listening at work and shit like that. So if you like it, let us know.
Yeah, and our plans to go deep. We know a lot of guys cover, the shorter pickups, but Drew and I like playing in those sick puppy deep leagues, so we're kind of more catering to that audience a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously this one went fairly deep on kind of looking at everybody, just because it's the first game of the season. Everybody's, we're either getting confirmation or we're getting conflicting ideas to what we originally believed. There's probably going to be less just straight up information going forward, and there's probably going to be a little more banter. Actually us getting to bullshit with each other. But this week we just had a ton of stuff we wanted to cover and make sure y'all had some information on. But so if that's something y'all are concerned about, don't be. It's something that'll happen with when we have more free time, and especially the more we record with each other, it just kind of naturally develops.
Yeah, man.
But I don't know. I think this went really well. If I say, I don't know why I've gotten so much better since last year about saying and all that shit, but I was horrible at it tonight.
No, I think it went well, man.
I'm gonna edit 100 times. I'm actually not gonna edit out hardly any of this shit. I always say I'm going to, and then I'm entirely too lazy to do it.
It's fine.
Normally, I turn on the editing software. I do this little thing where it edits out all the dead air for me, like by itself.
Nice.
Oh my god, it changed it. Editing for me used to be like a 3 to 4 hour process. I had to devote an afternoon to it, and now I just have to listen to it and make sure nothing like horrible came out. Nobody took over my mic and started, throwing out Nazi propaganda or anything like that. Just make sure it's okay before I send it out. But really, I don't hardly do shit. I just listen to it. It's like, okay, throw in the beginning, throw in the ending theme, publish.
Oh, so we didn't talk about either of the Monday night games. Well, I guess we talked about the Niners. I guess there's not a whole lot to talk about. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. What was the game before that? I already forgot.
Washington, Pittsburgh. Timmons and Shazier blew it up as we expected. Not a whole
Shazier
lot.
did
Sean
things.
Davis got a lot of play. That was surprising. It looked like he played it in a big nickel. They were in zone a lot. And unfortunately, Sua Cravens did really well.
But he was also limited on his snap count.
Well, he did okay. He had 3 solos. I mean, Foster and Compton dominated, but
yeah, he was out there on limited snaps. Like I was looking for him on every play, and he was probably playing, a third of the snaps, maybe a little bit better than that. But hopefully that goes up with time. Maybe it won't. Other than that, not really much to be excited about. Will Blackman wasn't horrible today. Ugh. Or I don't know if he actually showed up in the box score. I remember seeing him a bunch and seeing him around plays, but that's when I'll have to double check because this is just me spitballing at this point.
Yeah. No, I mean, the rest of it was kind of what we expected. Tree and Joyner did well. Ray, like I said, Ray and what's his name? Split snaps. Buckner did okay.
I think I saw Armstead get in the backfield at one point.
Armstead got a sack, but he didn't get much more than that. So that's, and Mark Barron didn't do a whole lot. I mean, I think Barron's not worth a whole lot, to be honest.
I don't think he is either. I think his value got artificially inflated by the fact that he was, playable in the safety position. But
yeah, he's 24th at DLF. That's pretty freaking high.
Yeah, that's
like for example, let's look who's below him. Jalen Smith, I'd take above him. Sean Lee, I'd take above him. Miles Jack, I'd take above him. Darren Lee, I'd take above him. Derek Johnson, hell yeah. Avery Williamson, yes. Anthony Barr, no.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
I like Barr.
Perfect's interesting. If he can stay on the damn field. Deion Jones, Devondre Campbell. It probably depends if I'm win now or if I'm rebuilding there. That's probably where I'm starting to be like, but there's Lawrence Timmons and Kiko. And I think we're going to see both of those guys rise, at least as far as like when Tahir Whitehead, I'd take above him. Jarrell Freeman, I'd take above him. Shaq Thompson, I'd take above him.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm Smith, KJ Wright, McKinney. Wow. Yeah, I'd say he's about 20 slots too high.
Yeah, I saw Tyler put out a tweet earlier that I really liked. He said if KJ Wright was on any other team, we might be talking about him as a top 10 dynasty linebacker. And I don't think he's wrong.
Yeah, I saw that tweet. That's a really good tweet. I mean, he's like Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. They're incredible players. There's just too many on that damn defense.
Yeah. And Earl Thomas for me is one of those guys that he's always been a better player than a fantasy asset. I think he had that 2014 season?
Yeah.
Where he had a really good box score, but other than that, he's been fairly pedestrian in terms of IDP. He's just always been just a killer player.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Chancellor's always been just a steady DB2, not ceiling with shit.
Yeah, what bothers me? Yeah. Sorry, there was so this are you gonna air this or not?
If it needs to get edited out, I can.
Okay, I didn't know we were still recording. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. All right, we're good.
Okay. That's perfect. I'll cut that out then, so nobody thinks that we're just horrible people and we're like, oh, I probably shouldn't say that where people can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's gonna about do it for us this week. You got any last parting shots for us, bud?
No, man. Really enjoyed it. It was good BSing, and this has been fun. Yeah, we'll keep it a little tighter next week, and maybe a little more dyno, maybe a little more prospects. We'll roll with the punches.
Yeah, we'll try and open it up to a little bit of questions too next week, because I feel like that's going to be better served at helping our audience, because we know what we're looking for, but maybe we're going even too deep for even our good IDP player listeners.
Yeah, it's really hard to know. I mean,
we're
the
kind
depth
of
and scoring's so tough, man.
We're kind of out of our fucking minds.
We are, but I enjoy it though.
I showed a buddy of mine that I know in real life. I didn't know he played Dynasty until fairly recently. I learned he played IDP and stuff, and we were just bullshitting about rosters and scores on Sunday. And I showed him one of my rosters, and he's like, "How many fucking players are you starting?" I'm like
22.
And he just
how many players start?
He looked at me like I had a dick growing out of my forehead. Oh my. And he's like, "How many are they?" Just the scores too. It was like, yeah, I mean, this is my good leagues.
Yeah, man. You gotta score 350 points to win. That's normal.
Oh man, y'all seriously, if y'all want to jump in on one of these, feel free. Message me or Eric or not Breeze. Don't message Breeze because he's a quitter. Message Tyler. If you want to set up for one of these NPLB leagues, if you want to get into some of this just lunacy, please message us. I would love to spread this format around and get this and have this infect the IDP community. But other than that, I think we're going to call it a night. This has been the Dynasty Playbook. I've been your host, Drew. You could find me on Twitter at DrewDodsonNFL. With me has been my killer new co-host, Eric. Oh, wow, that was terrible. I almost called you Tyler.
I called you Tyler earlier. We're good. We're even.
Fair enough. Eric, you can find him on Twitter at UtahEC. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.